What makes an act accepted, a deed accepted? So I think almost a decade ago, I was having a conversation, well, not a conversation, rather a debate with someone who wanted to convince me to leave my faith and come to his faith. And one of the points he brought is that worshipping God, the example of God and his servant is like the example of a mother and her children. All those children are trying to please their mother one way or the other. One might buy her a car, one is not rich and perhaps he obeys her, and one perhaps he has his own problems and does whatever it is, but they try to please her in so many ways. But the same goes for worshipping God. It doesn't matter the religion you are in. So far you try to worship Allah with you try to worship whatever God it is you are worshiping with sincerity and devotion, whatever form of deeds and rituals you choose to use, that God is going to accept it. Now, this is Al-Qiyas al-Farik, Al-Qiyas al-Fasid, a very wrong example. Why? Because the most serious thing that I think human beings have is a relationship with God. And if you want to maintain a relationship with even a human being, then there must be rules of engagement, things that you agreed upon things that you will do that will please the person. Then what do you think about the Lord of Al-Alamin, the Lord of the world? He created you for a reason, therefore seeking that reason will give you an insight of how to worship him. I don't think anybody will look at his father, call him weak, disrespect him, violate all his rules and say that he loves him. To answer the question, what Allah looks to accept our deed, what makes a deed accepted, is actually in the key that brings any person to Islam. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Just two components. The first one is al-Ikhlāṣ, sincerity, devotion, the intention itself, that you do whatever you do for Allah's sake alone, especially things that pertain to him, things that are due to him. That is the first one. And the second one is you do it how he wants it. So the first one answers why, and the second one, the first one answers why and who, which is to say, why do you do what you do and who do you do it to? And the second one answers how. So Muhammad Rasulullah answers how. So you do it how he teaches you to do it. فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. Whoever wants to meet Allah, whoever wants to do things that please Allah, then he should do a good deed. So, but there are many things that are good. I could do something that from my view is good, but perhaps it's harming the other person. So there have to be some a rules of engagement. So this answers the how. How to do it is going back to the Prophet ﷺ, seeing how he worshipped Allah, since he's the greatest of men, he's the greatest man that we have ever seen, sent as the final prophet. So he will teach us how, and then we go to the why and the who. We do it for Allah's sake. We do it because we love Allah. So that is the two components required for Allah to accept your deed. And perhaps the example of the first example of that fella I told you about can only work if it's within the realm that is agreed upon. Someone who has more strength in prayer than he has in fasting. Someone who has more strength in doing good to people than he has in giving charity. So there are many forms of worship, and whatever form of worship you hold, the voluntary forms of worship you hold and go to Allah, there's no problem. But the obligatory, foundational, agreed upon rules of engagement, you should never violate them, and that is to give Allah thanks alone, to worship Him alone, and not to give that thanks to somebody else, or ascribe weakness and say he has a son and he has a wife and he actually needs human sacrifices, or perhaps he trembles and weakens if people do not worship him. or do not ask him. Allah is as-samad. He does not require anything from anybody. Even the worship we do comes back to us. In fact, just look at it from this perspective. The world being good, the leaders doing what they are supposed to be, the followers doing what they are supposed to be, neighbors being good to their neighbors, parents raising their kids well, benefits them. The society becomes happy, becomes more functional, and we live a better life. This is just world based, and then Allah promises He will reward us on the day of judgment. So it comes back to us. These are the two things that are required for Allah to accept our worship. And Ikhlāṣ, which is sincerity, doing it for Allah's sake, which answers the who and the why, who we do it for and why we do it. And then Mutābaʿah, which is how we do it. And that is looking at the Prophet ﷺ, his statement, his life, to know how we do it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.